Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Our program will begin soon. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Our program will begin soon. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome African American Mayors Association Treasurer, Mayor Philip Jones of Newport News, Virginia.
Good morning, everyone. How are we doing? I don't have any fans up here like last night, but I will do my best. I really just want to say good morning. And thank you all for joining us today for AMA's Business Council Breakfast during our 11th annual conference. Greetings to my fellow mayors. I see only a few. It must have been one of those nights, but Bib, it's always good to see you, brother. To our Business Council members and to the amazing staff and the crew that have put together this amazing, wonderful day of events. As you scroll all of your social media, your Twitter, your X, your Facebooks, Instagram feeds, please be sure to share and retweet all of the stories you see about this amazing conference. You can find AMA on all of our social media platforms at @ourmayors. We are live streaming these events to our YouTube channel. And lastly, please don't forget to include your AMA 2025 in all of your posts. We can't wait to share your post as well. So we have made it to the last day of our annual conference, The Power of Now. I'd like to thank Mayor Steve Reed, my fraternity brother, and the Montgomery, Alabama team for all their support and dedication to AMA this year. Thank you, Phyllis, for your leadership of the AMA team. Thank you for not only supporting AMA and strengthening our foundation, but encouraging others to join as well. This conference would not be possible without all of your hard work, and Phyllis, it does not go unnoticed. So from the board, thank you so much. I would also like to highlight the increase in Black mayors that have joined AMA and the increases in the engagement that we've had with over 150 mayors this year and over 100 corporate business partners. We continue to make strides. There we go. We continue to make strides in serving and representing Black elected officials at the local level. And my favorite, as the treasurer, AMA has also increased fundraising efforts with over $2 million in new sponsorships from new partnerships and an increased number of levels from partners who have supported us from day one. And like President Steve Reed said, it's more than just a sponsorship. It really is a friendship and a partnership. So for all of our Business Council members, thank you for helping us day one, and we look forward to your continued engagement as we go through some turbulent times. How about that? We could not do any of our work that we do without our Business Council partners. Your partnership continues to amplify the work that we do across the nation. We want to thank our Corporate Business Council leadership. Thank you to our chairwoman, Chanel Autry with Target. That was right there. And our vice chair, Essence Revels of Village MD, for your tireless efforts. Is Chanel and Essence here? Can you stand up? We just want to say thank you so much. We look forward to having a great last day, a good breakfast, and we'll see you out there. Thanks all.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Minister Victoria Thompson of Union Temple Baptist Church.
Can we bow our heads for prayer? Dear God, before we come to you with requests on this Good Friday, we first come to you in thanksgiving. We thank you for the privilege of convening together over the last 3 days, declaring that there is power in the now. We thank you for the charge that has gone forth throughout this conference. As we harness the community's collective power ahead of unprecedented times, we sit with the words of the great Howard Thurman. As he eloquently stated, there are 2 questions that we have to ask ourselves. The first is, where am I going? And the second is, who will go with me? Now, Lord, there is a question on the floor. And the answer is, we are all in. We've all made the commitment to serve our community, and we travel from the north, south, east, and the west to make sure that the job is done. So, Lord, as we continue this fight and press towards the future, we ask that you not only walk with us, but you dispatch our angels ahead of us, for your text says that surely goodness and mercy will follow us all the days of our lives. And we know that you are a surely type of God. Now, Lord, bless the food, bless the hands that prepared it, protect our mayors, our business council members, and their staff. In your son's name we pray, amen and ashe.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Our program will begin soon. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Our program will begin soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Brian Kenner, Director of Public Policy, Amazon.
Hello and welcome everybody. How's everybody doing? I know it's early. Let's get a bit louder. How's everybody doing? Like it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I am honored to be here. Again, I am Brian Kenner and I lead the community engagement function at Amazon globally. It is great for you all to also be here in what I consider my adopted home, which is Washington, D.C. I've lived in D.C. for about 27 years or so at this point. So it's so great to have many of you here in this great city. It's also so great to see colleagues that I've worked with before, and also many of the mayors that I've worked with before from across the country. I consider myself very fortunate to have had the opportunity to do some of the things I've done in my life. Before I was with Amazon, I was actually deputy mayor here in Washington, D.C. for the current mayor. And I was a city manager in Maryland as well. So I've had an opportunity, I think, to work with a number of you and look forward to continuing to do that. You may know that at Amazon, we have these things called leadership principles. These principles help us shape how we do business, how leaders lead, and also ensure that we keep customers at the front of our mind. A couple of years ago, we added a new leadership principle, and it is called Success in Scale, Bring Broad Responsibility. I think that that is particularly important as we sort of think about the important work that we and others are doing at the community level. This leadership principle says the following: we started in a garage, but we're not there anymore. We are big, we impact the world, and we are far from perfect. We must be humble and thoughtful about even the secondary effects of our actions. Our local communities, planet, and future generations need us to be better every day. Leaders create more than they consume and always leave things better than how they found them. I think that our goal at Amazon is to ensure we are the most trusted partner in the communities where our customers and employees live. And we want to make sure that we keep that front of mind every single day. And what that means is partnering with many communities, many leaders, to make sure that we are forthright in meeting that commitment. Over the last 5 years, Amazon has supported more than 3,000 nonprofits and community organizations across the United States. and we have met with more than 5,000 community organizations. We have established programs that help us support education, affordable housing, natural disasters, and many other local community issues. None of these projects would be effective without the deep engagement and support of partners such as yourselves. A few examples. Housing. We believe that all people should have access to housing that they can afford. That's why we established the Amazon Housing Fund in 2021, a commitment to grow and have $3.5 billion at work to support affordable housing investments in the Puget Sound region, which is Seattle area, the greater Washington, D.C. region, and Nashville, and to ensure that we are able to create at least 20,000 units of family housing and affordable family housing across the United States. Thank you. Appreciate that, Maurice. I had the great opportunity to work with my former boss, Mayor Muriel Bowser, here in Washington, D.C., where we announced greater than $800 million worth of housing investments in Washington, D.C. alone. Disaster relief. Since 2017, we've donated more than 25 million relief efforts to support communities affected by 187 natural disasters around the world in just the last 24 months. Our relief has responded to wildfires in California and Hawaii, hurricanes in Florida, flooding in Spain, and all across Central and Eastern European Europe. We have had the opportunity with my friend and Mayor Vince Williams of Union City, Georgia, to announce we have a disaster relief hub in Union City. And a few years ago, we were able to announce that we were doubling the size and capacity of that facility, enabling us to donate even more critical relief items across the world. In addition to some of these global impact programs, we also think about our impact hyper-locally and locally to ensure that we are a good partner and that we keep our customers, our employees sort of front of mind. We've had the opportunity to work with Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens to address food insecurity and to promote literacy. We've had the opportunity to work with New York City Mayor Adams to open and cut the ribbon on our newest corporate office location in Midtown Manhattan in the historic Lord & Taylor's building on Fifth Avenue to support workers coming back to the office. We've had the opportunity to work with Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott, where we've donated over 8,000 backpacks with school supplies as a part of back-to-school efforts. And if it sounds like I'm mentioning a lot of men, I apologize for that. I will say that we also had the opportunity to work with the now former Prince George's County Executive Angela Alsobrooks, now current Maryland Senator Angela Alsobrooks, to be able to support a number of different issues in Prince George's County. As you can probably tell, I'm a little excited about community work. I feel like it's not just an opportunity that I get to do, but I think it's more importantly an opportunity that I get to share with so many partners across the country and increasingly across the world. And so I want to make sure that we are good partners for you, that we are meeting you where you are, and that we're hearing and taking action on the feedback that we get from you. So we look forward to continuing to connect with you over the many months and years. Hopefully Amazon is always around in your communities and always will be around in your communities. So we will always be there for you, and we know that we can do better if we're working together. So I want to say thank you very much for having me, and have a great conference. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our keynote speaker, Mayor Eric Adams of New York City, New York.
Thank you so much, and it's great being here with you. Just really want to acknowledge Brother Kevin Johnson, just for your vision, your foresight of, just being one of the founders of this amazing organization and putting it back online. I never thought in my life I would be quoting Joan Rivers, but can we talk? And we need to have a real conversation on what it is to be a Black mayor. The job of mayor is challenging, but a Black mayor, the challenge is on steroids. And what we go through, by the time you're done, the PTSD, you better have saved up enough for some psychological counseling by the time you get through your run as mayor. What we inherit and what we have to accomplish, and particularly if you are the first or the second Black mayor, you inherit those who are part of an institution that would say, we're going to wait you out. You inherit those who have their own agenda, who have long relationships with the media that they can leak and slip information and make calls on you. You inherit the fact that so many people want to see your failure and you have to push through that. And so the tips to success is ignore the noise. Ignore the noise. Help me understand, as the mayor of the largest city in America, I inherited a city where COVID was in place. My city was closed down. Jobs were hemorrhaging. We did not know if our children were going back to school or not. Everyone had on a face mask. Our retail shops were boarded up. Black unemployment was 4 times the rate as white unemployment. Crime was through the roof. An overproliferation of guns on our streets. Our children were not learning at the capacity that they deserved. 230,000 migrants and asylum seekers was dropped into our city that cost my city $7.5 billion with a B to take care of. And in 2.5 years later, what happened? Bond raiders raised my bonds. More jobs in New York City in the city's history. More affordable housing built year 1 and year 2 in the city's history, outpacing the state with my children in reading and math, dyslexia screening. Matt Frazier, my CTO, put free high-speed broadband in all of our public housing development. More people moved from homeless shelters into permanent housing in the city's history. Subsidized more housing with our FEPS voucher program in the city's history. We had to brought down crime across the board. This quarter, we had the lowest number of shootings in the city's history. Second lowest number of homicides in the city's history. Dropped Black and brown unemployment by 20% in overall unemployment. More small businesses operating in the city's history. 65 million tourists are in New York City, the second largest in the city's history. Stabilized the city. Moved 240,000 migrants and asylum seekers out of our system. 190,000 are moving on to the next location of their journey. All of that, and they say my city's in chaos. What city they talking about? But that's how they define us. And so the goal we must do as Black mayors, we must identify our own communication mechanism. We could no longer be defined by the eyes of those who don't have any desire to see and report on the success that we have accomplished. If we don't find a way in this new mode of communication to communicate direct to consumer, your story will never be told. We are like a tree that falls in the forest and no one is around, so people don't believe we're making a sound. How do we have my brother in Chicago, and he must deal with the migrants and asylum seeker in his community as he tried to house the residents of his city? And so let me give you my analysis. Poverty is profitable. There's no real desire to stop the systemic poverty that we are experiencing in our cities. Archbishop Desmond Tutu stated that we spend a lifetime pulling people out of the river. We don't go upstream to prevent them from falling in the first place. There is money to be made downstream. It's no coincidence that in all of our cities, our babies are reading at the levels of math and reading at the levels that they are, because it's profitable if they fail, because downstream people are making paper off the fact that they have to give them the additional services that they need? Why are 30 to 40% of those young people who are incarcerated are having learning disabilities or dyslexia? Why are we seeing food in our communities that feed the healthcare crisis instead of putting people on a pathway of healthy eating? That's why we're doing lifestyle medicine in my hospitals. That's why we have dyslexia screening inside our young children in schools. Why are we finding guns without the manufacturers in our cities, but we're finding them in our cities? That's why we removed over 23,000 illegal guns off our streets in the city of New York to stop the bullets that are carving highways of death through our communities. Our challenges are immense. And we all know it doesn't matter if you are in a city of 100 or a city of 8.3 million people like New York. We're going through the same things. That's why this organization is crucial. Because the power of now is harnessing our power and then staffing ourselves with people who have the same vision as we do. And you're going to receive criticism. I'm criticized for having the first administration in the city of New York with 5 deputy mayors, first African-American to be the chief of staff, second African-American to be the chief of staff, first African-American woman to be a first deputy mayor, first Hispanic to be a police commissioner, first woman to be a police commissioner, first African-American to be a chief technology officer with a multi-billion-dollar budget. We have a $114 billion budget. And when you look at my administration, it looks like the people that represents the city. And so when you do these things, you're going to come under fire. You're going to come under fire. And I want to thank you personally. This has been the hardest 15 months of my life. But every day, there was this woman with a 3rd grade education, used mops and rags to clean floors, walked out our home in her arthritic knees, leaning on a cane, and whispered in my ear all the time when I stumbled and was told that I was a dumb student. She would say, "Baby, you got this." And mommy transitioned in 2021. But as I went through this difficult period, I could feel the spirit of mommy when she would take me in the morning and put my right foot on the floor, my left foot on the floor, and she said, "Baby, you get up." Because people who are going through a lot are watching you. And you will never surrender. You will never give in. You will always stand tall. And it's because of that 3rd grade educated woman that I'm the mayor of the city of New York. And so we know about Malcolm's. We know about Sojourner Truth. We know about Nat Turner's. We know about Marcus Garvey. We know about all of them. But let's not forget those mothers who fried the chicken to make sure the judges can go to the court and fight for integration in our school system. Let's not forget those mothers who made those pies when those men were rallying to march. Let's not forget those mothers who sat in those pews every Sunday and prayed for them. Let's not forget, with all of the great leaders that we know, let's not forget Miss Jones, Miss Harris, Mr. Johnson, all of the people who made the willingness to get us where we are now. I am here because of them. And that is the power of now. They took what they had and they made sure we could move forward. They listened to the soothing voice of Lou Rawls when he said a mind is a terrible thing to waste, and furnished the United Negro College Fund. And so I say to you, my brothers and sisters, mayors that are here, let's live up to the opportunity. Let's be bold. Let's be true. Most importantly, let's be you. No matter what you do, there are going to be those haters. And as we sit here in Washington, D.C., I tell people all the time, let your haters be your waiters as you sit down at the table of success. Congratulations, Amma.
Each day, people depend on the promise of mobility to connect to the things that matter the most in the places we call home. At HNTB, we are committed to making those connections possible. Within our communities, we are leveraging the power of transportation to connect friends and families, creating lifelong memories. We are connecting people and bridging communities by bringing people together and expanding opportunity. Advancements in innovation and technology are allowing us to enhance our communities by reshaping the future of mobility. Through collaboration and a commitment to making sure all voices are heard, we are helping to create a collective, bright future. At every stop and each turn, we are creating positive, lasting connections so everyone rises together. At HNTB, we make connections possible.
Ladies and gentlemen, this session is titled Infrastructure, Priorities, and Investment in the Coming Years, Safety, Resilience, Innovations, and Jobs, sponsored by HNTB. Please welcome to the stage Mayor Vi Lyles of Charlotte, North Carolina, Mayor LaToya Cantrell of New Orleans, Louisiana, and Mayor Justin Bibb of Cleveland, Ohio. This panel is moderated by Enrica Buchanan, Senior Vice President at HNTB.
So good morning. We want to thank you for joining us for this important conversation on infrastructure priorities in the coming years. And as I reflect on the theme, the power of now, there's been a lot of nuggets, I think, that I've picked up over the past day. Particularly, we were reminded of Mayor Woodard's statement about people and participation equaling possibilities. And in our prayer yesterday morning, we learned about courageous collaboration. And one of the other nuggets that stuck with me was also in that prayer about bold innovation. And when I think about where we are now in a time of unknown, I do think that it calls upon us to do all of those things, be bold, be collaborative, and participate in the process. So infrastructure is the backbone of thriving communities, and its evolution is key to our communities being strong. And we have an amazing panel this morning, Mayor Cantrell, Mayor Lyles, Mayor Bibb, and who are going to share their vision of infrastructure priorities for their city. So we're going to start that conversation with the first question about your North Star. So we know that mayors' values often shape their priorities, and that you're required, or you, or at least your citizens, think that you're responsible for everything, right, that happens. So how has your North Star, your principles, really guided your priorities in the infrastructure space? And we're going to start with you, Mayor Lyles.
Well, thank you. I am a mayor of a small town in North Carolina, Charlotte. We have about 900,000 people that have come. Most of them have come because of something else, work primarily. And so when I think about my North Star, the very first thing that I think about is the idea of, while we have a lot of growth and people are coming, what about the people that have been there forever? And so what we've done in infrastructure is to begin what we call a process of opportunity. So where the disparities were, that's where we want to be. We want to change that dynamic from, I don't have a street light or I don't have sidewalks, so that we created funds for every part of our community that had a disparate history, to change what that is by creating our infrastructure in terms of sidewalks, greenways, all of that. But I think the biggest challenge that I've had as a North Star is that we have a congestion issue for transportation. So for 5 years, I have worked towards having a new train in our city, having places where people can get to work in time, having us in buses, and how do we do things differently. And that has really been an encouraging effort. And the people in our community understand congestion is making it impossible for people to get to good paying jobs. So we want to do that. Our North Star, let's get some trains, some buses, some cars, and let's get people to work.
Thank you, Mayor Lyle, for that. Mayor Cantrell, reflecting on your own experience, and particularly as New Orleans approaches 20 years since Hurricane Katrina, what devastation that was. What has been your North Star in guiding the infrastructure investments in your city?
So good morning, and thank you for having me. My North Star has been centered really around the people of my city. We are on and have been on the front lines of climate adaptation, I would say, and especially thinking 20 years ago, Hurricane Katrina, leading my city in recovery at the grassroots level and now being mayor of it. 2 weeks in this seat, I was picked up from a high water vehicle because we had received rain totals since the largest since the 1800s, when National Weather Service started to calculate and capture that level of data. So from the very start, it has been focusing on infrastructure at every level. Of course, your gray, your blue, your green infrastructure, even looking at housing, and also the people of my city, the culture, and making sure that we preserve that, which is only through the people of the city of New Orleans. And so, we have faced flooding, tornadoes, hurricanes that have come our way, a building collapse in the middle of our downtown. We have, of course, heat, extreme heat. So it's all been focusing on making sure that the built environment is sustainable and resilient for literally generations to come. Since February of 2025, we have completed over 192 infrastructure projects, spent $1 billion. This year, it's going to be about $760 million. So the projects just don't stop. The work is disruptive. It's not sexy, but it's necessary. And so you have to bring people along, and you do that by demonstrating that you are getting the work done. After the work is completed, then they love their street. But while they're doing it, oh my goodness, or when you're doing the green infrastructure projects and, like, again, being disruptive, rain falls while you're doing the work. I don't know if this is going to work. But once they see the water being absorbed in that bioswale, it's freed up from rolling into their homes or their businesses or their vehicles. They're like, you know what? This is working. So you have to just stay focused, bring people along. In addition to that, I would say this. In 2019, I had to come up with a strategy to ensure that the city of New Orleans receives her fair share, I would say, from the state of Louisiana relative to what we generate in New Orleans. It is the economic engine of Louisiana. And so, but the tax dollars that we receive, the majority go to the state, stay there. And so when we host these large scale events, even just Super Bowl, for example, the thought is, millions, hundreds of millions the city is making. Well, really, no. Of course, your businesses, but most are tax dollars that go to the state. And so we had to take on a little strategy to get a little bit more of what we generate of our tax dollar redirected back to our city. I was told, no, that'll never happen. Well, timing is everything. We were able to change, again, a little bit. We need more, but we changed the structure. I had to say, hey, if toilets don't flush in New Orleans, cash registers can't ring in Baton Rouge. And so then we got the state legislature, though, to come along, because it's partnership, and change the structure. But for the first time in the history of the city of New Orleans, we were able to not only focus those dollars on the built environment, but putting it into our cultural community. So when we used to use resources, these same public dollars, to market our people, and not invest in the people you market, now our cultural bears are getting those dollars directly. And again, they make New Orleans what she really is. So people are a part of it as well. That's my North Star.
Thank you. Thank you. And Mayor Bibb, I told you I had an opportunity last summer to visit your vibrant community twice. And so what's your North Star and how has that helped you lead and develop your priorities around infrastructure for Cleveland?
Yeah, as I reflect on this conversation and think about infrastructure in the broader context, I think about it as a key to opportunity, and opportunity being my North Star. And Cleveland is a legacy American city where we really were America's first Silicon Valley. John D. Rockefeller, who created and invented Standard Oil, got his start in Cleveland. The world's first billionaire is buried in Cleveland. And that really fueled America's first industrial revolution. At the height of the 1900s, Cleveland was the 5th largest city in the nation. But because of globalization, because of redlining and the hollowing out of the urban core in our city, we now find ourselves having this challenge of reimagining our built infrastructure for an urban core of roughly 400,000 people and a region now 1.2 million people. And so the biggest challenge we have now is how do we reverse these trends of redlining and segregation? And one of the biggest projects I'm excited about is the fact that we are pursuing a $5 billion effort right now to make Cleveland one of the only 2 waterfront cities in the nation. So we're working with Dan Gilbert and Bedrock, and we have a $4 billion transformation in development right now on the Cuyahoga Riverfront, an area that in 1968, the first Black mayor of a major American city, Carl B. Stokes, our river caught on fire. 50 years later, it's now seen as a beacon of what environmental justice looks like. Another $1 billion of planned development for our lakefront in Lake Erie. And we sit on the 2nd largest body of fresh water in the world, right on America's north coast in the great city of Cleveland, Ohio. And so taking these assets and making sure we reverse these trends and using infrastructure as a lever to close the racial wealth gap, to create real opportunity, and to make our city competitive really is our North Star to make Cleveland America's next first choice city in the nation right now.
Thank you, Mayor Bibb. And as I think about infrastructure, where we are in a time of transition, as cities are reassessing what your investment priorities are and how they align with the changing federal landscape, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about how you're working to do that assessment, but also communicate to those stakeholders, be it federal, state, about your priorities and how to partner moving forward. So Mayor Lau, would you take that question?
Well, it's really, I think all throughout this conference, we've all had these conversations about what's going on in Washington, D.C., in the White House. And so what we've tried to do is to pull together our business community with us to say, how do we do this in a way that we can create a language that passes the I guess the inspection of the White House or the current administration. And basically we have asked people to do things like, we used to say things like, we're a corridor of opportunity or whatever, there's disparity or whatever. But now we talk about we're creating a middle class. We're trying to make sure that people can get to work. We're trying to make sure that all of our neighborhoods have some ability with infrastructure that's consistent with everyone. So what we've tried to partner with and do is we've created, I think, 19 parcels of what we're going to identify, and we're going to do them all at one time. And we're going to do them all because they're in our neighborhoods where we didn't have these opportunities before. But when you do that for everyone, it seems like you don't get as much attention paid to it. I think our big concern is the financing of what we want to do in trains and buses and things like that, so that people can have this opportunity to be a part of our community. And I believe that working with the business community makes a tremendous difference in our city. I can look out of my window and I have 7 bank towers that I just every day say, where are you now? How did you get here? And so we use them. I mean, this is a part of what business ought to be doing that they haven't been doing as often, but we're going to get them trained, we're going to get them working, and we're going to do just fine.
That's fantastic. Mayor Cantrell, is that a similar story to how you're approaching sort of the messaging from a New Orleans standpoint and diversifying, your stakeholders?
Well, I think the bottom line for me in New Orleans is through the spirit of collaboration. Have always worked, of course, local, state, federal, in terms of those partnerships. So keeping the lines of communication open, not making assumptions, staying focused, drown out the noise, don't be distracted, do the job. And at the end of the day, being able to stand on the results of that, I think that's the power. I think the power of now. And just continuing to communicate, making sure that we're being responsive, just the outreach, having meetings, again, not making assumptions. When one example, when our most recent governor was elected, Governor Landry, who's a Republican governor, and he, we had some times, he was an attorney general prior to being the governor, but the assumption was once he got in there that somehow we would not be communicating. We wouldn't communicate. This thought of, oh, this angry Black woman, oh yeah, oh, he's a Republican, she's not gonna talk to him, or he can be obnoxious, oh, she's not gonna talk to him. Well, I talk to him. I can pick up the phone. I'm not afraid. I don't have a problem with that. And you can see when folks, I had a call and said, well, the governor said, if you don't do this, then you're not going to get, the funding. I said, well, I just talked to the governor and he didn't say that to me. And they said, and it went silent because the expectation was that I was not going to be communicating with him. And so when it went silent, and the governor said, well, listen, LaToya, if they lie to you, they lie to me. I said, you got it. So it's about relationships, and you treat people the way you want to be treated regardless. And you demonstrate that again through your actions. And so we were spending federal money prior to Trump getting in first time. We continue to advance, get resources, of course, from the Biden administration, again, doing the work. And so Trump is now back, now our president, and we're just continuing to stay focused and doing the work. I have to deliver, and I'm out of here. My time is up as mayor in New Orleans, January of 2026. And so I want to make sure that I leave it better than how I found it. I know that for a fact. We're doing the work. And so that's what we're standing on, and standing tall on that.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your leadership and for that. And Mayor Bibb, I'm going to go to you, and you're probably going to close us out on this one.
Yeah. I was not mayor during the first Trump presidency, but the last 80 plus days have been, I don't think chaotic is the right word. It's been crazy and just frustrating and really just sad. My community, we worked so hard over the last 3 years to secure over $130 million from the Biden-Harris administration to invest in lakefront development. And I had a call with one of our new senators in my state in Ohio, and I was making the case for why these investments were so important to our city. And he said to me something that it was just so striking and just frustrating and just sad and disgusting. He says, you can get the money, but don't talk about diversity. Don't talk about redlining. Don't talk about equity. And don't talk about bike lanes or mobility, but you can get the money. So what are we talking about? And so having to make the case for why these things are important to your city to fit somebody's political agenda it's not the way we should be doing things in this country right now. And that is the hardest thing I think all of us as mayors have to grapple with in this moment. Because unlike our brothers and sisters in the legislative branch of government, we ain't got the luxury just to resist and not get shit done. So I'm gonna keep making the case in a way that does not undermine our values as a city, but we gotta stay true to our North Star, regardless of who's in the White House. Because I know who I worship, and it ain't Donald Trump. And so that needs to be how we govern our cities in this moment right now.
Well, thank you, Mayor Bibb. And I got a moment for one thing. I do want us to end talking about hope, right, and the power of now. So I'm going to start with you, Mayor Bibb, and work back this way. What are you most hopeful about in the infrastructure space as you continue to lead your city?
What gives me a lot of hope is the number of Black developers and entrepreneurs that I see in my city taking advantage of this moment. And there is a lot of innovation and a lot of ingenuity right now in majority Black cities across the country. And we as Black mayors have to continue to make sure we do everything we can to invest and put them in a position to succeed.
Thank you, Mayor Cantrell. What's giving you hope right now?
So what gives me hope is just being able to pick up cans that have been kicked for generations and turning it around. So one example is, we were able to come up with a project, a solar farm in a community that was built on a landfill, and 50 years of trying to do something with it. But being innovative and creative, solar farm is coming, which gave us the opportunity to buy out those homeowners. And so that gives me hope. Lincoln Beach, for example, the beach where only Black folks could go in New Orleans, 50 years ago. Well, that's now under redevelopment, right? And that gives me hope. Making sure that our young people have access to workforce development and training opportunities for jobs of the future, which is now. That gives me hope. 20-a-year millage for early learners in our city. That gives me hope because 20 years from now, you will see the impact on that. It gives me hope when, mothers after they birth their babies or families, when that baby goes home, a week later, they're getting visited by a registered nurse that will stick with them for 12 weeks. That gives me hope. So it's so much happening in our cities in spite of, and that's how we have to keep going, to give our people hope, because guess what? The power is now. Yeah.
Absolutely. And Mayor Lyles, now I'm going to let you take us home.
So,
what keeps you hopeful?
Thank you. I have to say what gives me hope is that we have people in our community that care deeply about what we're about. And I remember the first time I was elected, we had a $15 million housing bond, and we spent that. And on our last election, our community stepped up, and now we have $100 million for housing for people in our community. And I have hope, because if you can give a place for people to feel secure, that they can afford to have, that makes all the difference in the world when they have a family, where you have in schools, you have all of these other things to do. But if you don't have a home, you're not going to have a place for, technology. We have to invest in our communities, and our housing needs are great. But I believe that when you tell people the reason for that, it makes all the difference in the world, and they continue to support it because they know what it means to the future. So that's what gives me hope.
Thank you. Thank you. So as we wrap up today's discussion, I want to just express my sincere appreciation to each of you for your invaluable insights and leadership, your dedication to building safer and more resilient, and more innovative communities is truly inspiring to all of us. And we just want to thank you so much for spending time with us this morning. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Phyllis Dickerson, CEO of the African American Mayors Association. As the only organization exclusively representing African American mayors in the United States, the African American Mayors Association exists to empower local leaders for the benefit of their citizens. Through our network of 500 plus mayors, we are uniquely positioned to impact the vitality and sustainability of cities by providing our mayors with the leadership and management tools and creating a forum for member mayors to share best practices related to municipal management. When we were approached to create economic mobility programming for our mayors, I wanted to focus on ways we could address wealth disparities through financial education and increase generational wealth in our communities. In 2023, AMA established the Economic Mobility Leadership Institute, known as EMILY, featuring a multi-city cohort focusing on advancing economic mobility and building generational wealth for under-resourced communities. AMA's EMILY cohort is designed to equip mayors with necessary tools to create programming that improves the economic trajectory of families within American cities.
Thanks to our partnership with the Gates Foundation, the Economic Mobility Leadership Institute cohort experience is divided into two sections. Section 1 is for listening and learning by discussing EMILY topics and relevant issues with industry experts and by identifying best practices and shared experiences. Our participating mayors use 3 key data tools from our AMA learning partners. The first one is the Opportunity Atlas from Opportunity Insights. The next tool they use is the Upward Mobility Framework from the Urban Institute. And finally, the Economic Mobility Catalog from Results for America. These 3 tools, or public goods, help our mayors to become more strategic and precise with their programming as they curate individual strategic plans. During Section 2, EMILY participants implement these strategic plans during the second 6 months of the program. Our strategic plans consist of scheduled events directly addressing specific community needs around estate planning, homeownership, insurance, land usage, student loans, and wealth management.
Honored to be a part of the EMILY cohort, and we launched this with a holistic approach on November 7th of 2024 and launched an initiative called Empowered by Getting Ahead. And through this initiative, we actually had about 25 applicants, 25 families apply. They were screened and interviewed by our staff and then moved forward to receive information on various topics, including workforce development, digital literacy, money management and budgeting, credit education, as well as wealth building, civic sessions, even sessions on land use and appraisals, insurance planning, and home ownership. Then towards the end, we had home ownership owning the block party, where we had lenders, realtors, home inspectors, people within various aspects of the home ownership industry to come and provide information to the participants and the community at large around how to own a home. 15 of the participants will actually receive home ownership certificates that will enable them to receive down payment assistance when they decide to purchase their first home.
One mayor I like to highlight is Mayor Holiday Ingram out of East Point, Georgia. Her team really did a fantastic job in looking at our 6 points and truly expanding them to 10 others. She was able to actually take a family, an unhoused family. She was able to find them adequate housing, set up education saving plans for the kids, create a will for the mom. And then she extended our actual topics and looked at civic engagement and really how to help that mother create a budget. She addressed literacy. So in a 6 months time, you have a family that can go from being unhoused to being housed, having a will, understanding their financial responsibilities, being able to create a budget. It's just very powerful.
So we are definitely committed to continuing this work. We use this work to expand upon the work already being done by our Office of Equity, Inclusion, and Empowerment. And we will take what we've learned to continue to build and move forward. We realize this is not a moment, it's an absolute movement. And we are committed to making sure that everything that we do as it relates to our Office of Equity, Inclusion, and Empowerment helps to empower our community and help them get ahead, but also builds knowledge during the process so that they will be able to feel like they own it and they know how to create generational wealth for them and their families.
And so what Mayor Brian K. Jackson did was to have an investment club. And he taught these children how to day trade. He bought a fast computer, and for everyone who completed the curriculum, they were required to put money back into the program. So when they're done, not only have they learned how to day trade, but the program is still ready to go for the next class, which is very exciting.
This is a legacy building opportunity. Emily is one of the greatest things to take something like economic mobility and leadership and create an institute whereby learning takes place. One of the programs that we started was an entrepreneur social club called SB2C. It's an entrepreneur social club that teaches young people about business, invention, and investment. There's no other reason that SB2C is together but to build wealth and have generational wealth, not just for them, but for their families. We're doing a lot of things to try to help to get a group of young people together that can lock in and commit themselves to the work, because that's what it takes to be a part of SB2C Social Club. You have to be somebody committed to the work of wealth building. When it comes to trading, we want to put them in position, let them do mock trading. And when they start trading live, but by then they'll know what they're doing. And you may build out something that they know that they can do for a lifetime.
One of the things I've really enjoyed is working with these mayors. They are so excited to improve the economic trajectory of their communities and to work with their staff and to really see fantastic outcomes and long-term programming that goes beyond the year of the Emily cohort has been super exciting.
In addition to the year-long cohort experience, Almost Economic Mobility Leadership Institute includes many cohorts that offers a 4 to 6 week financial education experience, an Emily Exchange, which features insights from Emily cohort mayors and pointers about how to begin your own Emily, the Emily Road Show, and Almost podcast called Our Mayors Breaking It Down, featuring our Emily mayors and bolstering listeners worldwide. It features mayors from Emily 1.0 and 2.0, including Mayor Cantrell from New Orleans, Louisiana, Mayor Dickens from Atlanta, Georgia, Mayor Patterson Howard from Mount Vernon, New York, and Mayor Scott from Little Rock, Arkansas. Our business council members work with ALMA to provide the best possible webinars and tools that support our Emily Mayors programming. We have worked with the USDA Farm Service Agency to provide learning on land usage, the National Society of Real Estate Appraisers on appraisals, the National Association of Real Estate Brokers on home ownership, My Legacy Item, which is an estate planning tool created by Kenneth Kelly, insurance, which was facilitated by AFLAC, and student loans and wealth management, which is ran by David Artefeso, who is the CEO of Suchi. ALMA is excited to extend this phenomenal opportunity to our mayors. We welcome the opportunity to partner with organizations to increase economic mobility and improve generational wealth for your constituencies.
Good morning. So
I hope you all got your Starbucks gift cards. Did you get a Starbucks gift card? If you didn't, it's because you were late. Everybody get their Starbucks gift card? All right, make sure you text Kim and Clotilde, thank you, on behalf of Starbucks. And so I'm here this morning to let you know that we have 2 new business council leaders. If they're in the room, they can stand. They don't know they won yet. But the business council members actually vote on their leadership. The chair for this year's business council is Essence Rebels from Village MD. And the vice chair will be Sean Connors from Lowe's. And I don't ask for much. And I hope you know that our team has poured out everything that we have. And so I'm going to ask you to get your second win and do one favor. The closing gavel luncheon starts at noon. I need everybody in their seat at like 10 till noon. If the mayor from a city with 8.3 million people can fly in and be on time, surely you can just walk downstairs and be on time. The closing gavel luncheon speaker will be Mayor Brandon Johnson from Chicago. He's cascading across the floor. He's still on Central Time, though. That was his alarm going off, not mine. And so I also want to say the Innovation Center has 3 more sessions. Remember, you came here to learn something. We have entertained you. You have had fun. I hope you collected business council contact information and at least met 5 new mayors and shared your contact information that you did not know before you came. The last 3 sessions are Axon. They start at 10:30. 10:30. Axon, protecting more lives in more places. Block safety, leveraging new technology to address societal changes in public safety. And Cities United. You know, Cities United addresses homicides between the ages of 14 and 24. Their session is called Understanding a Comprehensive Public Safety Approach. What time are you going to be in your seats? Don't say it if you're not going to be there. Like, say it with some meaning. You're back in your seats at like, anybody listen to straight hand? Like 1/4 to noon, be in your seat, because you know I'm a stickler for time. You've seen that, okay? I just need you to get your second win, show up at 10:30 for the 3 breakout sessions, and be back in your seat at 1/4 to noon, because we will be also moving the gavel, giving scholarships. This is our first year we're going to establish the Kevin Johnson Scholarship. And KJ, for those of you who don't know KJ, who doesn't know KJ? He's a Phoenix Sun former NBA player, but he's also former mayor of Sacramento. And he, along with a few other mayors, actually had the vision to start AMA. And KJ is going to tell you a little bit about it later. One of the other founders is in the room floating around somewhere, Johnny Ford. So if you want to hear what AMA used to be, go talk to KJ. All right? You've come from a mighty long way. So thank you and be on time.